So hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. And yes, this is the video all of you have been waiting for. Who will be eBay's #1 competitor probably sooner than we think? And you see the word right there, Facebook. Let's also add Marketplace. So Facebook Marketplace versus eBay. Who do you think will come out on top? This is going to be a 5-round match. I know who I think my winner is going to be. I think it's going to be Facebook in the future. I'm going to say it. I'm going to put it out there into the universe right now. Are you ready for this? I wouldn't be surprised if eBay wasn't purchased by Facebook. Now, yes, Facebook has some issues where they're constantly in court because people are afraid of a monopoly, or the fact that, Facebook has all your grandma's pictures and your baby photos, and you told them where you worked and how long and what your age is by giving them your birth date. The list goes on and on. But at the end of the day, that was all voluntary. First of all, you did not have to sign up for Facebook ever at all. Secondly, there are plenty of people who signed up for Facebook and never used it, but you used it. So, why are they constantly in court fighting these battles? Because other companies are not doing as well. It's the same type of battle that Google fights on a regular basis as well. It's believed that they're a monopoly. Bing, Yahoo, AOL. I mean, we could go through the list, of current as well as those that have met their demise. As far as search engines go, Google has been battling those types of lawsuits, or not even lawsuits, or they try to put them under regulation for years. And, Facebook constantly stands up to the punch and is willing to kick, stomp, and fight back, because at the end of the day, we're voluntary users. So under that, though, what could happen, and I truly believe this, is that Facebook could end up taking over as far as the resale market goes, which is really the #1 way that eBay makes its money, is off the resale market. Whether you buy something brand new and sell it as new, or you have something that's used and you're selling it as used. But at the end of the day, Facebook has a gigantic audience, and a number that I was able to find, so we're going to get into some statistics here, is that currently they have over 900 million users of Facebook Marketplace in over 70 countries. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of dollars. Now, you would think to yourself, well, Jesus, good God Almighty, if not, they must be making a trillion, billion, quazillion, make up fake numbers amount of money. One of the things to know is only if you use their extra advertising feature will you ever pay a fee. And according to Facebook, they plan on keeping it that way. I'm so happy. And so shouldn't anyone that's a reseller. You should also be happy about that too, because with eBay, there's a litany of charges that not only do you need to pay Facebook 22 different, I'm making up numbers, and I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but they have 22 different charges for all these little bits and bobs and things. Then on top of that, if you use PayPal, for example, you also have to pay them a fee. And perhaps you have another payment system that you're using, because now eBay, when they truly start their own payment management system, which was supposed to start in the summer but did not, and when they finally do get that under wraps, and there could be a reason why they haven't done that yet, which I'll talk about in a moment also, then you will have other options for accepting payments, and some of those organizations will charge you a fee, just like PayPal does. That's how they make their money, understandably. So with Facebook having zero fees for listing, for adding your pictures, for being as wordy as you want, or this is where there's an issue when the listings are not wordy enough because they're missing a lot of details, such as measurements, conditions. There's nowhere near enough photographs for a lot of their listings. So, there are some pros and cons to the Facebook marketplace for sure. But at the end of the day, the amount that you'll pay in fees to Facebook are zero, unless there's always a caveat, isn't there? Unless you decide that you want more advertising. If you do want to advertise towards a targeted market, not just an ad that goes out to everyone in the entire universe that's looking at Facebook, if you truly want to target your market, then what you would have to do, apologies, my husband had to go to work for another double shift during this pandemic, and he's driving in about 4 inches of snow, and I guess we need to say good night, drive carefully, don't run over the animals, etc. But anyway, so one of the options, and this is 100% an option, I'm telling you right now, I've never used it because it wasn't necessary, but what you can do is pay for targeted, demographically positioned advertising. So what that means is you could pick the age range, the location. There's a whole lot of different choices that they have, whereas you can target that ad. Not only will those people see it, but everyone else will still see it as well. The only difference is supposedly it might get you a buyer faster. And also, if you're targeting those people, they're probably willing to pay a little bit more or your asking price for said item. I believe that that is a really good option if, for example, you're selling a boat, a vehicle, something that's a super high value type item that's like that. I know that there are people that sell jewelry and things like that. I would not sell like a $30,000 diamond solitaire great grandma's ring that you inherited on Facebook. I would go to a very well-known auction house such as Swan, which is in Boston, Christie's, which is almost everywhere, but in New York, and I believe they have a branch in Boston. Somewhere like that. I wouldn't even go to my local auction house because they're not really fit to sell anything of such caliber. So why would you sell that on Facebook? It makes no sense. But if you're selling a vehicle, farm equipment, stuff like that, big chunky pieces of furniture, have at it. And if it's of something that's of truly amazing value, and I'm saying, I say if it's valued at over, let's just say $2,500, which really is not amazing value, then maybe you would consider paying the extra fee for the advertising. The other thing with your advertising option is you select what your budget is. Yes, people, you have choices. You select, if your budget is $5, that's all you pay for the advertising. They will give you the options that equate to $5. If you have $50,000, then obviously, I don't know why you're selling on Facebook, but you can have all of the options in the entire world practically for a budget like that. So I'm just trying to show you that for the teeniest amount of money to something exorbitant and everything in between, you can create your own budget. They will also work with you as an individual. So especially if you have a larger budget, definitely tap into working with them and their resources just to make sure that, your ad totally makes sense and it's targeted correctly and et cetera, et cetera. So, but at the end of the day, you don't have to use the advertising option at all, completely optional. And you are able to list anything you want as many items as you want for absolutely free. So how can you beat free? Can eBay ever beat free? No, because eBay is a platform set up to collect fees for a service. And Facebook is set up for advertising. So they are banking on the fact that some of us will use their advertising feature, and they know that many of us will not use their advertising feature, and they're okay with that. Now, from articles that I read and things, recordings I saw on Facebook, etc., as well as on YouTube with Mark Zuckerberg, he did talk about this sometime in the past. And as far as he's concerned, they're never going to charge a fee for people to sell items on their platform unless you opt in for that extra advertising. And opting in is per item. So it's not like you sign up for it once and you're hooked forever. If you have one item to sell that you want advertising for, you can do that. And the other 599 items can be listed for absolutely nothing. So they're very, very flexible, which is definitely a positive, that flexibility. And the other thing to know is, and I don't know why, and other people have, we've had conversations about this, etc., is we find that many items that are listed on eBay, you can find for a lower price on Facebook. Okay, one reason for this for sure is the fact that there are no fees. I mean, come on. You don't have to charge a fee. And also the turnaround for these items sometimes seems to be faster. And I think that's partially because of the targeting. Because if you're doing the targeted advertising, obviously it should sell faster. But also I think that people who just don't want to deal with the corporateness of it all will go to Facebook Marketplace to buy, let's just say, a Ethan Allen buffet for their kitchen. They are like, wow, if I did this on eBay, I have to deal with shipping and this and that. And a lot of things on Facebook, it sort of acts like a Craigslist in a way, where the person, you meet them, they pay you some money, you give them the item, or vice versa. Or you do have the option of accepting a PayPal payment. Facebook also has its own managed payment system. And there it is, Facebook Pay. And supposedly it's seamless. The payment system is secure. You can use it on Facebook, Instagram, and through Messenger. And of course, it's only in a select number of countries. But if they're selling in have this Facebook Marketplace in over 70 countries, my assumption is there's probably a handful of those countries where they won't allow Facebook Pay. But the majority of countries, especially the European countries, America, Canada, some of the typical, Australia, I believe, is one of them, they will allow for Facebook Pay. So in many cases, you just need to go through and see if a country that you do business with is on the list or not on the list. They do talk about monetization and payouts. That's something I'm going to let you look at because, yes, you might actually end up getting money back from Facebook by doing some work, whereas some monetization takes place. So there's a lot of options, I believe, with Facebook. And yes, eBay does something where you can become an affiliate with them and earn some money if someone clicks a link to a Facebook product that you're promoting and they buy it, but you also have to make sure you're signed up for their affiliate program. I find it's hard to work. I don't know why. I just do. But with Facebook, it's pretty cut and dry, and that is definitely a positive with Facebook. All around their platform is the fact that it is pretty easy to do whatever you need to do. Like there's not, I mean, I think this is just my opinion that Facebook was created so that someone that's like 11, 12 years old could use it. And when it comes to selling items in the marketplace, I find that it is that easy. Like, as long as you could take pictures and you can write coherent sentences and describe and measure and also have an idea of what you want to charge for an item, hopefully reasonably, then you should be able to use Facebook Messenger to, sell some of those items that you have. Also, as I stated earlier, if you have big chunky items, perfect place for it. You do have to be willing to meet a person out in the world somewhere, go with someone, do the transactions in the parking lot of a very busy library right near the front door, the police station, the fire stations. All of them are willing to let you meet someone there. And some of them, they might want you to call ahead. Just check with your local fire department, police department to see what they require. And my thing is, this is just me. Make sure no one's following you home. So don't go home after, like, you might want to go do the rest of your errands, and just make sure you're not being followed. You do, just like with anything else, you do need to use common sense. So this is a big one, especially when it came to Facebook Marketplace finally stepping up into the year 2020. I can totally see why they wouldn't want to step up into the year 2020. It's been a doozy to say the least, but they do have a purchase protection plan, and yes, it errs more so on the side of the buyer. It just does. And as we know, when it comes to Facebook, it's pretty similar, where they err more so on the side of the buyer. However, just like with Facebook, and I've said this to people, and they're like, oh, I don't have time to do that. But then they have a nerve to complain when someone rips them off by stealing their iPhone that this fake buyer purchased, and claim they were returning, but instead they put the weight of the phone using a rock. So what they do is they find something that weighs as much as the phone, and usually it's a rock for some reason. That's what they put in the box, and they will return the iPhone box. And when it's weighed at the postal service, that's one of the things they can say is, yeah, but they check the weight and da-da-da and whatever, because at one point, some of these crooks, criminals, and thieves were returning, I'm just using iPhones as an example because there was a big problem with that at one point. And what they would do is return an empty box. And then the Postal Service could say, oh, wait a minute. When they brought that in, they have their receipt and it shows that the box only weighed 4 ounces. It should have weighed, 16 ounces or 14 ounces or whatever an iPhone weighs when it's boxed up and ready to go. So the crooks and thieves are, they work in a sophisticated manner right down to the most caveman of ways. So unfortunately, there's going to be those people out there. There always are. But on the other side, like I said, taking a little more time yourself, it might help protect you from some of these crook criminals and thieves. On the other side, you as a seller do have a little bit of protection as well. If someone promises to make a sale and they don't go through with the sale, you are allowed to leave a rating for them. You obviously, hopefully, will never give them something before they pay. But as I stated, there's Facebook Pay. Obviously, you could still use PayPal on Facebook, which in their payment section, you'll see there's different options. That's something that's a bit newer, whereas back in the day, which wasn't really that far back, it would just be like, I'm selling this item for $50. And then it was between the two of you to decide how you wanted to do that financial transaction. And that transaction could vary from seller to seller, buyer to buyer. but now it's clearly stated, or supposed to be anyway. And that is a negative that I find with eBay, with Facebook, is that if something sells, you don't really know what the final price was on that item, because the buyer and the seller can negotiate a different price than what was listed. I've done that myself. And when you look at the transaction on Facebook, you'll see that the original sale price was there, even though I may have sold the item for less, or maybe I was buying and maybe the person added more items and I ended up paying them more. Like, that can happen. Times pricing can be unclear. So there are definitely times when I was going to buy something, but I'm very good about asking questions. And the picture had all of this stuff in it that I thought I was getting for this very reasonable price. So I didn't think that I was getting, like, you know, the greatest bargain in the world. And they were like, no, you'll only receive 6 of those. And I was like, but in the picture, there must be like 32. And they're like, no, you only receive 6. So the other negative is the detail, you know, besides questionable pricing, are many times these Facebook listings do not have all of the details in them. Measurements, conditions, true pricing, what exactly am I getting for that amount of money, etc. And like I said, the photographs, unfortunately, many times they will give you 1 or 2 photos. You want as many photos as humanly possible so that you can make a decision based off of a written description and the photos. If there's only a few photos, I'm always super suspicious and I basically just move on. Another thing you'll want to do is look at the ratings. So this is something that Facebook at one point did not have at all. And then when they did have it, they allowed you to hide your rating. And now hiding a rating is no longer something you can do. Now, what they can do, meaning the sellers and the buyers, because you have some bad buyers out there as well, is they can stop their Facebook account, turn it off, and end up opening a brand new Facebook account. So I do think that more security and like identity checks need to be done with that. All of those types of checks and balances do not exist in Facebook. Just like and to use eBay, you know how you have to go through and submit certain paperwork and this and that. That's not a thing with Facebook yet. But I do believe as they grow and as they become more sophisticated in the world of buying and selling, that will be something that may become more amended. So my final thing is, remember, you can arrange for shipping items through Facebook, but that has to be in your details when you're describing the item. So I believe that Facebook definitely has a chance. I think they're definitely they're moving up there, obviously, as eBay's competitor. I noted or noticed today that eBay had record sales. I believe it was like 3 billion or something. But for some reason, their stock price went down a little bit. Is that why? As well as the fact that the managed payment system isn't out there for every single seller yet? Is it because they're in a position to be sold? I don't know. It's just my speculation. Thank you for tuning in. Remember that your health is your wealth. Subscribe to our channel. And without your health, you have absolutely nothing. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. Give this video a thumbs up and be well.